guys think William in the movie would have he said, "Hey, Adeline, you're with me first."
I've got something to say about that. We're going to talk about it.
I want you to say it about that. So
let's talk about that.
Together.
All right. Welcome to another episode of Season 5 of Three and a Half Gentlemen, the podcast, where three of the four hosts provide a refined and intellectual analysis of movies from our private collections while one of us tries desperately to keep up. We'll let you decide which host is which, but for now, my name is Sean, and with me in eternity are my co-hosts, Jeremiah.
Don't get sloppy, yo. It's the little things that trip you up.
Eddie.
There you go again, putting your hand in places it doesn't belong.
That's dirty.
And Jeremiah.
That's
Brandon.
Who?
Hey, what's up, yo?
Let's just go with that one. Yo.
And
I don't have a
Brandon.
quote, so we're just going to throw a yo out there. I mean, I do. Whoever heard of a horse pitching? I don't even remember that quote, but I wrote it down. It mattered to me then.
It's such a dumb joke.
Yo, that's what I'm going with.
All right. Well, season 5, we've been changing things up a bit. We'll still be picking movies that we think will be fun to talk about, but for this season, we're playing a loose version of 6 Degrees, where each host chooses their film based off of the previous one, as long as that movie shares an actor, actress, composer, director, or writer.
As with every review we give, our goal is to answer one simple question: how many drinks does it take to get through the film that we just watched? Now, at the end of the podcast, we'll rate the movie based on a scale of 0 to 5. 0 being a perfect film that you could watch stone cold sober, and 5 being sort of the film that makes you feel like you crashed your car only to find out that you are immortal, which means that you have to watch all your loved ones grow old and pass away. Forever Young. Do you want to live forever?
Great song. Absolutely great song. My God. Well,
should have that song in this movie.
Speaking of, be hitting the nose right on the nail. That's what we've been doing. All right. So last week, Eddie had us searching for another type of immortality with Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, which, if I need to remind us all, can we go ahead and tip our cap to a fucking perfect movie? There it is.
God. Once in a lifetime.
Once in a lifetime. Or twice in a season.
Once in a lifetime in a season.
Here it is. And since...
Listen, you only get that one time this season. Enjoy.
Well,
it's not gonna happen again, guys.
We could have had it with our first episode of the season, but Eddie pulled an Eddie, so there it is.
True.
Anyway,
it wasn't perfect.
Jeremiah has the next pick. So, Jer, tell us what movie we've got navigating the strange waters of love, loss, and life tonight.
So, everyone, I chose Harrison Ford from the last movie, Last Crusade, Indiana Jones, and I actually kind of went to a different direction, and I'll explain here. Okay. It's called The Age of Adaline. And 2 reasons why I picked this movie. One, I'm being a little greedy right now. I'm going to pick a movie that means a lot to my fiance who's going through recovery right now. And it's a movie that she actually introduced me. And I really enjoyed the movie a lot. The second reason why I picked this movie is because I really love Harrison Ford's performance in this movie. This is kind of something that he did something different here, which was more not just like the Harrison Ford that you know. It's kind of like a different side. You see him like beautiful, raw. There's a vulnerable side to it. And I think it's one of his best performances I've seen in a long time. And that's the reason why I actually chose this film. And I actually want to talk about it and go forward with that. So that's the reason why I chose this film, guys.
I like it.
That sounds pretty good. So
cool beans.
Yeah. I mean, hey, knock it out of the park. 2015's Age of Adaline tells the story of Adeline Bowman, who at the age of 29, quote unquote, dies, only to be brought back to life by a bolt of lightning. Afterwards, she finds that she can't age, but this causes her to keep from being close to anyone until nearly 8 decades later, when she falls in love with Ellis, the son of the man she loved 50 plus years earlier. This fantasy romance film stars Blake Lively, Harrison Ford, Michiel Huisman, and Ellen Burstyn. God damn, that's a tough name. The Age of Adaline has earned an IMDb rating of 7.2. It's like Blue Curacao, isn't it, Ed? Moment of silence.
Yeah, I understand that.
All right. Well, this movie has an IMDb rating of 7.2 out of 10, has a Rotten Tomato score of 55% with the critics, and an audience score of 67%. So we are climbing down the rung of the ladder, I feel, with some of our more recent picks.
We just had Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. How dare you say that?
I don't think that's fair. I think that we're looking at a diversity of movies based on not just the best movies out there, but some of the stuff that are unseen gems or stuff that hasn't.
Who picked Donnie Darko?
I would never have watched this movie because I had to watch it for the podcast. I was pleasantly surprised by the quality of this movie. So I'm happy we're doing diverse and different movies that people may not have seen.
No, listen, audience, I was the one who drew the name from the hat to be the asshole, apparently, that everybody wants to gang up against today. So, yeah, so let's do it.
Brandon, you didn't draw the name from the hat. You made it yourself.
You know what, Sean, you actually have the next part in the script.
It with your personality.
You have it in the script. Go for it. Let's talk about the drink.
Let's get a little drunk here. Come on. We're going to live forever here, guys. Come on, let's drink.
I love you, Brandon. You know that.
Back at you.
As with every movie that we review, we try to pair our selection with a cocktail that we hope will enhance the viewing experience, or in this case, enhance the age of our lives. So, Ed, why don't you take us through the drink that we will be enjoying this
The opposite.
It's better with years.
If I was in charge of the drink, I would have done something with Red Bull because it gives you wings. But I understand that you went this way.
Wow. The writer of this is getting a little bit cocky.
By the way, hold on. By the way, Ed, if Red Bull wants to sponsor us, please.
I will find drinks.
Every drink will
have Red Bull. Any other drinks too. Water. Aquafina, go
gear
for
from
it.
Red Bull, shirt, hat,
Dasani,
boots,
right?
You name it. Everything.
All right, so tonight, in honor of our movie, we're going with a timeless cocktail that Sean truly, truly loves. This is a classic now, as it was decades and decades ago, the old fashioned. To make this cocktail, add 1 teaspoon of sugar, 3 dashes of bitters to a mixing glass. I'm going to say glass. He spelled class. Yeah,
it's a very elevated thing.
Yeah, next add 1 teaspoon of water and stir until the sugar is nearly dissolved. You need to fill the mixing glass with ice and add 2 ounces of bourbon. Stir it up until it's well chilled. I do think you add a piece of orange slices in here, Brandon. You might have forgot.
Yeah, I never add garnishes.
I really appreciate you writing the script, but this is the worst old fashioned recipe in the world. So
that was it.
You take a peel of an orange, and the first thing you do is you rub it on the inside of the glass so that the orange essence gets in the glass. Then you don't take a teaspoon of sugar; you take a sugar cube, and then on top of that sugar cube, you bury it in bitters. And then you take a muddler and you muddle the sugar and a cherry, usually a what's a good cherry?
Audience.
I can't think of it
it's
off
a
the top of my
maraschino
head.
cherry.
Anyway,
no, it's not a maraschino cherry. It is a
tell me
Bordeaux
that you have
cherry.
no life
And
without telling me that you
muddle it.
have no life. That's what Sean's doing
Bro,
right now.
if you've ever tasted a good old fashioned, it's a difference. There's a difference.
And then you add your bourbon and your ice and you stir, and it is the greatest thing. Now, a lot of these bars like to give you 1 big ice cube. That's some bullshit. You want the little ice cubes. You don't want the big ice cubes.
Jeremiah, when we take those scores and we divide them by 4, that gives Age of Adaline
you go to the
an average rating.
You can dictate how they make your drink.
Really?
Don't be scared to tell them how to make a drink.
Yes. And don't be like Sean and actually go, one old fashioned,
and you know what?
2 old fashions, 3 old fashions, 4 old fashions,
How old fashioned?
5 old fashions.
Tell us where the best old fashioned is. I want to know the best old fashioned. I would like to actually.
Or maybe try making the old fashioned that I'm suggesting, and we have a taste test, a taste off.
Your old fashioned looks kind of old.
You're right. Let's just have a little drink right now.
Let's do it.
Let's drink.
Do it.
You didn't even specify the bourbon.
Right?
Because we're not sponsored
yet. That makes a difference right there.
You know the old fashioned I feel like Brandon will like? He likes the pre-made already Trader Joe's in the bottle.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
I like it, but...
I mean, Brandon, the last thing Brandon wants to do is actually make a cocktail.
Oh, no, well,
so I understand.
Yeah, I'll crack it open. No, there's not enough tropical juice in this one for me to really enjoy. But no, I've had one old fashioned in my life. And when I say one, I mean about half a glass. It was at a wedding. I got an old fashioned because, Sean, you were in my mind and in my heart at that point. I walked up to the bartender. I said, I'm going to have an old fashioned. I thought I was going to just spit the first sip out. But then I said, no, it's going to get better after this first sip. It never got better. And so I ended up just leaving it on a table, abandoned it. Yeah.
No, I did basically bourbon, and Brandon can't handle the hard stuff.
I don't like bourbon.
By the way,
Wine
this
coolers.
episode is sponsored by Trader Joe's.
Yes,
Thank you so much.
Listen, tell you what. No. I got one more thing to throw out there. If you work at a bourbon company and you want to sponsor us, I will drink an entire bottle of bourbon in one sitting. There it is.
Live.
I'm throwing it out there. I will do it live.
And just so you know, we will help him. And
we are desperate. We are desperate for anyone to pay us.
All right, let's talk about Age of Adaline, because I think that while there are some huge negatives I have with this movie, I enjoyed the heck out of it for what it was. I think that the you know how I hate narration. I hate narration more than anything. When a movie starts with a narrator, it drives me crazy. But I thought this narration was so smart and so different and so unique that I really did enjoy it. And I think Brandon's going to disagree with me right now.
No, I'm going to agree. Okay, so listen, I have to say this. The movie starts, narration starts. I don't even think we have an image that's not a title card. And I hear the voice, and like it's the sound of Red Bull wings, angels just flying, because it's the greatest narrator's voice ever. And I know that, and I could say that with absolute clarity, because it is the same fucking narrator as the one in The Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford, which, as we all know, is the greatest movie ever.
Get the fuck out of here. No way.
Literally, he's typecast as a narrator. The guy does nothing else, but he has the most beautiful, smooth, it's young, but it's also wizened up. It's like if Sean was just a little bit more handsome on his voice, because he's a handsome fella in the mirror.
I give you that.
But yeah, it is the greatest.
I can understand that.
Because here's the deal. It's weird, right? It's younger than you want it to be, but then you hear it. He gets into a second sentence and you're like, I'm in love and I want to just listen to this guy talk. The problem with this movie is that they bookend the fucking narrator. They go at the beginning and then they go at the end. I want to hear that smooth son of a bitch voice throughout the movie. I don't want there to be, I don't want dialogue. I just want to be read a story by this dude. But it is the same narrator as The Assassination of Jesse James.
You're not the director or producer, so that's not how it's supposed to be made.
But anyway, Sean, I'm on your side, buddy.
First time watching the movie, guys.
Mine really? Too.
I've watched this movie so many times. Like Hannah is the one who introduced me to this movie during the pandemic. And I always had the problem with the narration. You guys like the narration. I never understood it. I actually thought it didn't fit the movie, and then Hannah was like, well, you're looking at it from like God's point of view or something like that.
It's almost clinical.
Yeah.
It's almost like a doctor.
Exactly. So then I'm just like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
The best part is when he references something that hasn't been invented or discovered yet. That part, that solidifies it.
Science fiction movie when you think about it, because it's supposed to happen like 50 years from now?
The other thing, too, what you can look at, though, also is that this is like a bedtime story that we're being told. It's fantasy. It's a story. I mean, it is not that different, honestly, than like The Princess Bride, where you're being told a story. And if we're looking at the narrator from that perspective, that we're not, because narrators, you're right, Sean, they have such a divisive and weird kind of quality when it's used in a film. But if it's used in a film to perpetuate or kind of metafictionally draw us to this idea that we're being told a story, like a bedtime story, then I think it actually enhances the film. And I don't know if I'm just spitting that out there, but I thought it was well used here.
I like the idea of that with like a fantasy story, but I was thinking more it's like a myth that it's happened so long now that it's kind of like became a myth, but it's like this true story. But overall, it's like now became a bedtime story. And a lot of these bedtime stories, they came from somewhere, right? So I was surprised. I wasn't expecting a narrator to start off everything until 2035. This is when they're gonna actually find this. Yeah. I was like, crap. That was cool.
Watching this movie, dude, like I'm a little conflicted on this, because I think this movie, I enjoyed a lot of it, but I felt like this movie could have been fucking greatness. Like it had that potential or something like that. To even the point where I actually thought this movie would have been even better if it was like a television show, like a TV series for like 5 seasons, where you can go from decade to decade and decade, like the third season, like you find out that, she's going on with Harrison Ford's younger Harrison Ford. And by the way, where the fuck was
he with
where
Solo?
was like the producers and to bring this guy in to be Han Solo? My God, like I was like,
he was fantastic, Harrison Ford.
Yeah. But what I'm trying to say is like the third season, like you have that situation, and then the final season, you find out she's going to go with the son,
like a 4-season, 10-episode type thing.
And I guess what I was expecting was flashbacks, like serious flashbacks where you would find that she had done these interesting things her whole life. And this is, I guess, my biggest criticism of the movie is, number one, she chose to do live a mundane life. Like, you are immortal and you'll live forever. What do you do with your all this time? I read old books at the library. Like that.
Stay in San Francisco too. It seems like, right? You don't ever like venture out.
I'll buy the same dog and watch it die over and over and over.
But it's kind of sad when you think about it, dude. It's almost like she's afraid to even connect with people.
Yeah. And I'm not trying to complain because there are parts of this movie that I really enjoyed, but I'm like, if you're a writer and you're like, this great idea, this woman who never ages, and they're like, oh my God, does she just witness history? Like, is she involved in all these great emotional, cathartic events in American history? It's like, no, she basically hangs out in New York and sees her old daughter and vows never to fall in love. It's like, so what the fuck is she? At the end of the day, it's just a straight up love story that she happens to be immortal.
Yeah. She's always in hiding, which I agree. That bugs me also, Sean. Like, she's in hiding a little bit too much, and she works at the library purposely to like stay with the it's like she's always in hiding because of that, the FBI finding her and tracking her down. And it made it seem like, okay, after 40 years goes by, you could pop out a little bit. You're in the 70s. You should have done something. There must have been something there.
There's a missing gap between the 60s all the way to like this time of the decade, like our decade and everything like that. There's like 30 years missing there.
They messed up, I feel like, right there.
But I mean, you kind of get the idea. Like, there is a sadness to the story to it. I don't know why I'm drawn to it like that. But, it questions like one's identity, their lifetime, the loneliness, and like the human connection that you want to have with someone that you just can't have anymore, which is like forbidden.
I think that what's interesting, and I'm going to jump and spoil the end, but the fact that she becomes immortal and then makes the decision kind of to be celibate, if you will, and not fall in love. And then as soon as she meets kind of the love of her life, who surprises her in all the right ways, who changes everything, she gets this gift of mortality and gets to enjoy aging with him. And it's almost like I got the opinion that the immortality was more of a hindrance than a gift. It was more of like something, a burden that she bore, as opposed to a gift, where I would look at it like a gift. And but then again, you have to ask your question. Let's say you are immortal. Let's say, Jeremiah, you're immortal. Brandon, you're immortal. Eddie, you're immortal. You have to watch your children die. You have to watch your wife die. You have to watch your dogs die. You have to watch
and she can't tell anyone because she's afraid of it.
Right. You have to watch everyone in your life pass on, and you have to deal with that. And you're stuck. You can't just like leap away. You're stuck in this life that you've chosen without really understanding that it's an 80-year commitment. It's kind of like getting a cat. It's so like, once you get the cat, I'm being serious. If it's a bad cat and it shits on the furniture, it's like you got 18 years of this motherfucker. It's not like a dog that's going to last 5. You're stuck.
What type of dogs last 5 for you, bro? Jeez.
Well, people get rescue dogs, Ed.
At the end of their life.
That's tough, dude.
That one's got 6 months left. I'll take it. No, so I do want to talk about what Jeremiah. I want to kind of riff off of what you said a minute ago, and this is the second time I've seen the movie. So on paper, I remember when this one came out, I saw a trailer for it in movie theaters, and I leaned over to Amanda and I was like, oh my God, this one is going to be fucking perfect, because it has it ticks all the boxes in Brandon's boxes, right? It is magical realism, which is my absolute favorite genre of storytelling, where you've got this kind of magical, mythical, mystical, fantastic happening within the real world. It's got Harrison Ford in it. I had never really seen anything with Blake Lively in it, so I was like, I don't know anything about it, but she's pretty, so let's go ahead and go with it. And then I watched it and I said, oh, this one dropped the ball in so many different levels. And I don't think I realized until I'm hearing you guys talk about it, but yeah, it's true. Like, I wanted something more from what she chose to do with this thing. Now, that being said, and I'm going to come back to this at the end with my score, but the best part of this movie, in the part that I think it resonates with me, it's the one that stuck in my mind all these years since I saw it in theaters way back when in 2015 to when I watched it again last week, is the ending when she pops out that gray hair and she realizes that she's got that gift now. And I mean, that gift of mortality. And I love that. So in that sense, Sean, like you were saying, the idea of it building around this idea or this concept of it being a curse rather than a gift in order to get to that gray hair moment, I was okay with it. Now, that being said, I think that this movie has so many flaws, and Hannah, I love you, but this one just misses the mark so much. And I feel like we have to talk about, well, first off, we got to talk about the fact that we've now done 2 movies back to back where Harrison Ford is sleeping with the dad or the sons. Like, this is, I wrote this in my notes and I'm like, we have to talk about
this movie,
it. He is double dipping.
He's the opposite.
Like, literally, he is the Sean Connery now. So there's that we got to talk about.
He's the Sean Connery in this movie.
No. The son is the next man.
What? No.
It's a little creepy. It's weird.
But the other thing, and I'm just going to say this so that we can kind of use this as a springboard, is we have to talk about Blake Lively and the fact that
I think Blake Lively gets a bad rep, but I thought this movie, I think she did really well.
That accent?
Like, really, really well. And I also think like A Simple Favor, she was really
good in that. I'll give her that.
I don't know about the accent.
Just her voice,
you know?
bro. That's just her voice.
Yeah. I actually thought she did really well. I thought she really held the movie.
When she was like, I'm Audrey Hepburn over here.
She has the look of someone that could actually be from
she does.
the past, and she nailed it.
I'm with Jeremiah. I thought while her performance did bother me in a certain couple of ways. I thought she was calm and reserved, and she had this quietness about her, and the way she moved and the way she fit into her clothes. I thought that all of that really exemplified the fact that she was old. I remember looking at the time, and I think it was 40 minutes into the movie, and she still hadn't like given up and gotten with her boyfriend. And I'm like, what are you holding out for? Like, let's go. Like, let's move it on. And it's like, y'all protest too much.
Right?
Like,
that's the writer's fault.
Yeah. Well, no, okay. So
I'm just saying,
but yeah,
that I got irritated with her character a little bit. And that kind of translated to being irritated with her acting because she played this coy, slow game, and I'm like, it played it too long. It didn't work for me. But then when she loosens up and she has those conversations with Harrison Ford, especially the young Harrison Ford, when she's a little freer, I thought her acting was actually, and I've seen her in 4 or 5 things, one of the better performances that she's given.
I thought the same thing.
Well, let me clarify, because I'm revisiting my notes here, and I really am not trying to like save face. And I have 4 different times the acting here is terrible, the direction for the acting is here, and I'm not just talking about her. In fact, one of my notes says even the veterinarian can't act. But I think that the direction in this movie was sloppy. I think that it was a thing of I don't know, as a director, I don't know how I really want to push these characters in the story. And so I don't know if it's like giving them too much freedom or what it was. I thought Harrison Ford, which we can kind of come to expect, was by far the best, but it's also because he's the most grounded. I think Ellen Burstyn, she did great, but she's also a world-class actress. So I feel like that all the performances seemed so forced to me.
I'll agree with you on that part, Brandon. I think this director had a lot on his plate and didn't know how to actually reach to the end. When you watch the movie, there's like 11 fucking producers in this movie. So you know that everyone had their input on this fucking movie and everything like that. And he's also a young director when you think about it. Not that, that makes a difference, but I think with more of a veteran director, I don't know anyone, I think they would have like an idea of like how to approach things, because first and foremost, the movie looks beautiful. It's a gorgeous film, shot. It's a gorgeous film. Some cinematography and even in the music, I mean, it makes San Francisco look really beautiful. But again, there's something that's missing there. I don't know what it is.
More storyline.
It's pacing. It's pacing the story. Ed hit the nail on the head. It's you could have cut 35 minutes out of the movie, and you could have really focused on
flashbacks.
Add a couple flashbacks, but more than that, if you just give us some time. San Francisco is built on boats that are under San Francisco. Give me 5 minutes there. Like, you're like, oh, look, there's these cool boats. Oh, I've got to go back. I only have an hour for lunch. You finally found something cool, and then you moved on. I would almost rather follow her on a daily basis on how she has to act with the knowledge that she's old, right? She has to constantly cover up. Like there was a couple of times where she slipped up, like when she said something like Bob Hope kiss me, or Bing Crosby kiss me, or something like that. Was, you know, and then she had to cover it up. Like I would much rather her have to deal with those type of daily interactions and show me her life than just her walking alone on the street melancholy. And so it just,
I think you do have a lot of those scenes in the movies. They're just very small.
Yeah.
Like when she was with her boyfriend and the boyfriend was trying to do like business deals or something like that. She comes out and just like busts out the language, you know?
Great.
And you're just like, how the hell does she know this language? Or she knows the streets by heart, you know? And it's just, it's like, it's there.
What a great movie.
But it's like little parts are just like, oh, fuck, could explore a little more to it, you know?
Yeah.
But I never got into the chemistry between the young son and
very well put.
Blake Lively.
Yes, no.
I thought the chemistry between young Harrison Ford and old Harrison Ford is the movie that I wanted to see, and I wanted more of it. And that's the part those are my favorite parts of the movie, because that is the relationship. You know, that to me is like the love story, but it's also beautiful how Harrison Ford accepts it, you know, knows that, you know, that's not the love of her life. That's not the love of his life.
He understands why he moved on too.
Here's my problem with this movie generically is that it tells you a story. It doesn't engage you in the story. And this is a very common thing that Hollywood does when they're trying to make a movie, is that they want to tell, you know, they always say it's storytelling. It's not. You have to engage your audience and make them feel like there's a risk of the movie, that the characters have to make a choice, and either you can agree with that choice or disagree with that choice. It doesn't matter, but you have to be invested in one way or the other. And there was no investment. There was just a story.
Yep.
And what happened, and you had nothing. It's like you had nothing to do with it as an audience member.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why this movie is less compelling than other types of movies out there, especially in this genre.
I want to go back with maybe an awkward, funny moment. Did anyone at one point feel like the dogs were related? Just the way she said, she had pictures of these dogs. They're like, this is your great grandma.
My grandma used to mention this old woman here, or young woman who used to come and get dogs every 13 years.
Every 5 years, Sean?
That's what I thought. I was like, God, she has pictures of the same dog over and over again. I was like, is the dog immortal too? I was confused first.
See, that would have been great on season 4 right there. You know, like, oh yeah.
Well, okay, so you say that, Jeremiah. You say this should have been a TV show.
Oh yeah.
This was a TV show, and it was a fabulous TV show called Forever. And it was Ian Gofield, who was immortal, and his quote unquote father/son was played by Judd Hirsch. And Judd Hirsch was in love with this lady, and they found Ian Gofield as a child during World War II, and he didn't age, and they did. And so it's set in modern times, and it was kind of he helps with the police solve crimes to find out that there's another immortal person who is a serial killer. People. And it was really cool, very similar storyline.
Interesting, like thriller type of stuff.
Yeah.
But I just think there's so much story about the Adaline that I want more. Like you can go from the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, skip a couple decades, go to there. I just wanted more of that character.
I mean, make her a war nurse. Make her some, give her some
like
some
Downton Abbey.
Gravitas. Like give her something that's
yes.
But that's the thing. It's
history
like,
to it. No, but like
if you have,
we're talking about World War I, World War II. We're talking about a lot of wars, a lot of history here, and we just like skipping over all of it.
Imagine if she was a surgeon, okay? Just a surgeon. How great would she be at a surgeon because she'd been practicing for 100 fucking years? Like, how great would she? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, make her. I don't know. Once again, give her something that I can have a stake in, not just I read old books. Like, I don't care about your old books. I don't care.
Yeah,
I don't
agree.
Care.
Like a surgeon, and then she switched over to like being a professor, and then like she jumped around careers, so she has history in different professions.
Right, but her knowledge base after 100 years, her knowledge base would be just tremendous.
It felt super
imagine
sad
if you had 100
too.
years. Yeah. I mean, Brandon, imagine if you had 100 years to study something like Shakespeare. My God, you would know every sonnet, every play by heart. You'd know every nuance, everything.
Yes,
and it's just, I mean. I mean, how many times have you done Hamlet? Probably. I mean, I'm going to guess you've taught Hamlet 14 times, 10 times.
Yes, about there. Yeah.
I mean, that's about right.
Yeah.
But imagine doing it 100 times.
God.
That's a completely
What a fucking great life.
I mean, geez.
God damn, I'd love that.
I know.
You know what I mean?
I hear what you guys are saying, but I also think that this movie has a lot behind it. Like, it does give like a sense of hope for people to have like that second chance, embracing that discovery that you can actually have with your own self in a lot of ways, and like, you try to do whatever like lies ahead of you. And I think that's a really good way how there's a meaning of the message, like where she's trying to find that during the movie. Gets that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a love story. And on that note, I have a two-part question, or a twofold question. And this is a genuine question. But if the answer is what I think it is, then it frustrates me even more about this movie. So first off, she just accidentally happened to find the son of the man that she was desperately in love with. She just happened to find him. Like, it wasn't like planned. She didn't keep track of him. Right. So that's part one.
No.
And part two, what did you guys think of her reaction then when she walked in the house and saw her old love of her life standing there? And it seemed, at least to me, just super underwhelming. Like, what a weird coincidence. Like, of all the millions of people that live in San Francisco, I would have been like bolting out of there. I would have been like, nope, what's going on? Yeah, give me that.
I thought that discovery was actually really fantastic. Like, you can tell that it's almost like the lies and everything that she's been hiding was going to come out right there and then.
So in that case, question 3 is, what are the odds?
I felt so bad for Kathy. I felt so bad for Harrison's wife. I was like, fuck, bro, that's so bad.
Yeah, dude, that was like really embarrassing. Like, the whole time, like, yeah, we were really close.
Yeah,
get it, dude.
You said it 5 times already, fucker.
I said it 7 times.
I look at it, and you look at it more practically, and you're looking at it. What are the odds of them meeting? What's that reaction going to look like? And I mean, to me, this is it's cosmic fate. The stars are aligning. This is hope realized on screen. It's kismet. It's two people coming together who are destined to always be together. And to me, this movie is about self-acceptance and permission. She finally gave herself permission to be with a person that she loved, and then that turned out to be married to the love of her actual life, the person, because I don't think she was in love with her first husband. She had a respect for that first marriage that kind of went throughout the years. And then she finally allowed herself to be open with Harrison Ford. And then she allowed herself again to be open, 50 years later or whatever. As far as the same family, the odds of that happening. No, the odds of that happening is when two people are drawn together. I think that, I mean, I know that you don't believe in fate, or if you don't believe in, no. But I do believe that there's some thing in the universe that draws people together. There's a reason people meet. What are the odds that they met? I don't know, but it makes sense that they met. Mm-hmm. It makes sense that these two people found each other because they had the same interests. They had the same outlook on life. They had the same kind of altruism. And when they came together, at the very beginning of the movie where they're at that party, he was just as bored as she was. He was just as not wanting to be there as they were, as she was. And then they meet. Sometimes you fall head over heels for somebody you don't know why.
It's a beautiful sentiment. It's
I think
1 in 808,000.
I get that, Brandon. But I think that this movie is giving people hope that one day I'm going to walk into a Biltmore hotel, or I'm going to walk into some hotel, and I'm going to turn to my right, and I'm going to see the love of my life sitting on a stool, and she's going to smile at me, and she'll be drinking an old fashioned, and it turns out that she works for a library, and that she's Blake Lively.
And it turns out she lived like 5 miles away from you this whole fucking time.
Sean, she doesn't have little glasses for
and she lives in a historic home, and and we're gonna have 9 children together. But I mean that I know it's not important to you, but I'm just gonna finish here by saying that type of film, that type of movie is why I go to the movies, because it gives me hope in humanity, where I don't have that hope if I just look at statistics. I don't have that hope if I just look at the numbers.
No, I appreciate that.
I really went.
No, that's good.
I love that, Sean. And I love that. I'm going to build off that and say, Brandon, you were like showing us numbers of like how, like the odds.
The
but
population.
I mean, it happens very often in all of our lives. Like, shit. Oh, you know that person? I know that person. Like, you run across people that know someone. It happens a lot more than we think. And we just don't pay attention to it half the times nowadays because of this day and age now with social media. But it used to happen all the time before social media. You would run across, you bump into people like, hey, oh, I know you somehow and from this one party somehow. And it happened because I honestly also think that Harrison's character, he stayed in this town because of that hope to run into Adaline one more time, and he just happened to have a career here. He was in residency, and she wasn't moving from this city because you know what, her husband died here. She wants to stay here. The odds, so they both were just. It was bound to happen, and if you think about it, it took a long time for them to cross paths. And, you know, that's a long time.
Yeah, because they were in Europe actually when they first met.
I think Christmas is going to be weird for her.
And this was to think too.
Yes, for the wife, for Kathy, yes.
To think too that she met him in a moment of indecision where he was thinking about giving up medical practice, thinking about doing this differently, and she kind of put him back on a track that led him to stay in San Francisco, that led him to marry Kathy Baker, that led him to have his child, that led that child to, you know, to be wealthy, to go to college, to start that business. And then, you know, to meet her at a party randomly on New Year's Eve. That whole circle, like, it started with her changing Harrison's mind back to going to medical school. And I think that's what is so beautiful about this type of story, is that you can see that the tracks that we make in people's lives, not just our own lives, but everyone's lives around us, they influence history, they influence time, they influence kind of everything that happens. And that's beautiful. It's a beautiful sentiment.
Yeah, someone on like on Reddit wrote this actually, and I thought it was like really nice about what, you know, kind of like the whole concept of the movie is that the universe mistakenly sent her to Earth way too soon. And there was a cosmic reason that she had to live this long to fall in love with this person. And so I think that movie, it showed that in a way that, you know, it's just like, you know, when everything's lined up and everything that's meant to be, it's meant to be on that part there. And I'm with you on Sean, like, you know, sometimes like, you know, it's just, what are the chances where people can meet up with each other and stuff like that? The way how I met Hannah was because I was bored and I had an extra ticket to go to see a concert, and I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna whatever the fuck I'm gonna do. Go, I want to go. And somehow we were at the same show. What are the chances? The very last minute, like a listener from the radio station did not pick up their ticket,
and you guys happened to. So it was this weird situation.
It's weird. It's weird, you know.
See, I don't think it's weird. I think that's part of the fabric of life.
How it happens, man.
I mean, I think about this all the time because you guys are my best friends. My best friends I met in undergrad. And we have a group of people, it's not just limited to us four. There's 6 or 10 or 12 people that we know, that we keep in contact with. And, I think about when I was going to go to when I was looking at schools, I went and I took batting practice at ASU. I went to, Claremont, not Claremont, Santa Clara. There was a bunch of schools that I went to try and, that was my destiny. I was going to go there. And then all of a sudden, Santa Clara was interested. Yep. And then Santa Clara kind of fell apart because I'm dumb and I, wanted full ride scholarship, which doesn't exist. And it's like, all these things happen in my life to lead me to the school that I went to. And quite frankly, my life has never been the same because I met you guys. And that to me is, what are the odds of that, Brandon? What are the chances of that?
Well, here's the deal.
What are the chances of you being alive? Meeting in a Halloween store?
I know. Brandon, I want you to know you won the biggest race of your life 38 years ago when you won in a million shot, bro. Like you won it, right?
Hell yeah.
Come on, bro.
Yeah.
And
I always knew you had it in you,
Brandon. You were the first place then.
My dad had it in him, apparently. But listen, I got to clarify this because you know what? Everything that you guys are saying is so beautifully stated and well put and right up my alley. Sean, I will give it to you. I don't believe in destiny so much. I don't believe in predestination and that idea of things being written out for us. But I believe in karma. I believe in putting yourself in the right place. So I do believe this. I guess for me, what I was saying is it seemed just to be a narrative tool to employ. It was just like, let's add this extra element of, hey, it's the dude's son and you now have to grapple with that. When I think in reality, it would have been interesting or more interesting to focus that attention somewhere else. And I think that's my problem.
I feel like that was the only interesting part of the movie. Like, you were going along in this film, and I'm like, oh my God, is this all it's going to be? I protest. Okay, let's get together. I get an accident, I become mortal again. Like, that's what I thought this movie was going to be. I was like, oh my God, they're going to the same place. They're going to have snow that it was unexpected, and they're both going to go off, and then she's going to be immortal again. He's going to die. And
City Angels.
And then
which I have not seen, but I've heard.
All of a sudden, I was faced with something completely different, and I thought that was kind of cool. It kind of changed my opinion of the movie.
And it gave us Harrison Ford.
It was different,
and it gave us Harrison Ford, and we have to. And
it was Harrison Ford. It would have been different if it was like James Caan.
And you know what? The person that played Ellis, for the longest time thought that was Adam Brody. For the longest time, I thought he was in this movie. I was waiting. I was like, "Where's Adam Brody? Is he coming in yet?" It wasn't him. It was never.
I'm glad I saw Game of Thrones.
I'm
glad I saw Game of Thrones before I saw this because I knew that I liked him.
What was Adrian Brody?
Adrian Brody.
Which one's the one?
Adrian Brody.
Adrian Brody.
Adam plays a piano.
Yeah,
he would have been too old.
No, Adrian plays a piano.
He would have been too old for this.
Adam's still in the OC, dude.
Yeah, Adam's OC. Adrian's the guy I'm thinking about.
Yeah. But I agree with you guys. Like Michelle, like he's a good actor. I just don't know if this is the movie for him. I just wasn't really about his performance in this movie. If you watch like The Haunting on Hill House, he's really good in that. It's fantastic, you know. Oh, it's fantastic, dude.
I lasted trying to get 2.5 minutes into that show. 2 minutes, 32 seconds. I was like, nope.
Hopefully we get the dude upstairs.
Is that because Blake outshined him? Because Blake, I honestly think she maybe outshined him in this movie.
You see his performance, but then you see someone like Harrison Ford's performance, and there's more chemistry between them. Yeah. And which I'm really happy that Harrison wasn't like a creep, you know, just like, oh my God, I'm obsessed with you, you know, make it like all R-rated, you know, video attraction shit. I'm just glad that, you know, that he was just trying to.
He was losing his mind.
Was different.
He wasn't Harrison Ford in an interview with Jimmy Fallon is what we didn't have. We had a happy, excited about life Harrison Ford, and my God, how much do you want to have a conversation with that Harrison Ford? But if you have a conversation with Harrison Ford,
because he's gonna mumble and he's gonna go right back into his normal shit.
It's so
annoying.
I
can't stand it.
No,
I think that's all front. I think he just does it on purpose.
Listen, Jer and I were having this conversation before you guys jumped on, and I swear to God, when I see an interview with him, I turn it off because I'm just like, my God, I don't want to watch a guy actively not knowing what he's going to say and make me feel super uncomfortable. So, I mean, I don't know.
He does make you feel uncomfortable. That's exactly right.
Yes.
He makes you feel like you're in an interview and it's awkward.
Yes.
And I'm like,
you're the person.
Yeah.
It's like, ask better questions, but the questions are good.
There are some people that give a great interview. And if you ever want to look, I've been looking back at like some great interview pieces. Peter O'Toole used to make Letterman just uncomfortable as hell. And it was so funny because he would tell these long drawn out stories, and it was just, they were so funny, and they were about, you know, drinking with Richard Harris and anyway, it was just funny stories. But you could tell like he didn't quite know where the story was going and didn't quite know where he was going to have to fix it, and you felt that tension.
Well, I'm really glad he didn't do it in this movie because I actually thought with this movie here, I thought
it's one of the most likable performances outside of Indiana Jones that I've seen from Harrison.
Now, have you seen? Well, did you see him in 42? As Brian
he was great. He was great.
Good. It was good. Definitely good.
So he has it in him to be a nice guy.
Yeah, I mean, well, he reminded me of like the cool uncle like always, like when he's in interviews, it reminds me of like this cool uncle that just has so many stories, but he's very quiet and he just like he'll speak up when he's supposed to speak up, and he'll be quiet like the whole time, and he'll just like, dude, that's the guy that I want to talk to in the corner because I know he has stories. Like,
bro, he's the grandpa that we wish we had.
Right? Like,
that we never had, dude.
You know, what's funny is that for Michelle, he's not only the father, but he's also the ex. So how awkward is that when you really consider it?
I'm not sure I want him as my grandfather, knowing that he banged my wife. Right. I'm not sure.
Also, the sister-in-law. I'm not sure I want that. Can you imagine the sister-in-law's like a long time ago?
Those family reunions would just be very
the daughter-in-law's
awkward.
like, ooh, you're actually 50 years older than I am, and you're my daughter. So
all I heard someone keep saying like, yeah, we were really close. Very close.
I'd love to see that wedding speech.
And that brings us to the end of our review. Now it's time of the podcast where each of the hosts provides a score on the following scale. Eddie, what's your name here? Mr. Bowman.
I'm the first one. I feel like
Mr. Bowman.
Yeah, I mean, the one that no one talks about. Like, it's a 0, the perfect movie. You don't need shit to enjoy it. 1,
I thought you were giving your score for a second.
2, a happy buzz. 3, your Uber and your Olympian home. 4, rough morning walk of shame. 5, blackout, shit face, screamer drunk. Middle-aged Harrison, let's be professional, okay? When I'm talking, shut the fuck up.
Let me just say that just as a fun callback. Look, I still have this written down in my my notes from Indiana Jones.
Yeah. Right. I got you guys.
Can we do a pre-score? So I want to make sure I don't rate this too low, but too high.
No, just rank it how you guys feel. You know,
this is a movie that I was so happy I watched. But there was parts of it.
Okay.
Hold on.
Okay, give it. Sean. I know you're ready to. Give me a second. Okay.
Wait.
I don't know.
5.2.
Oh no. I enjoy. This movie was really, enjoyable. It's just not.
Are you guys ready?
Just because I enjoy a movie doesn't mean that my score has to be a 1.
Yeah.
Okay. Ready? 3, 2, 1. All right. That's what I thought.
That's yours, bro?
That's cool.
All right.
Is that a 4? Okay.
Well, you can't say that. You just fucking just can't.
Okay.
Well, he doesn't know who did it until you talk, dummy.
Well, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and start this off.
Listeners don't know.
Yes, they do. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and start it fresh up. I'm giving this one a 4. And I'm giving this one a 4 because this is a movie that had so much potential. This is a movie that I got excited about. And not every movie that I want it to go one way and it doesn't go that way, but it goes a different way, doesn't make it a bad movie. To me, what makes this a bad movie is this was a movie that, and this is a terminology that Sean has given in many critiques in the past, and I usually agree with him. This is a movie that doesn't know what it wants to be. It doesn't know the story it wants to tell. It doesn't know the kind of characters that it wants to have. And the problem with it is in 2 regards, and I will give Blake Lively the benefit of the doubt. I will give the rest of that cast the benefit of the doubt. The problem is the writing. The problem is the directing. And it's unfortunate because I think the movie had so much potential, and it didn't just drop the eggs. Like, it dropped the souffle and all the eggs scattered everywhere. To me, it's a disappointing movie. And I watched it the whole time, remembering how disappointed I was, 8 years ago, and then realizing that my disappointment is just that much more because now I'm looking at it and saying, ooh, what could have been? I think that the only reason that this is not lower is because it was nice to see Harrison Ford in kind of not a cameo role by any means, but just kind of a peripheral role. It was something where he wasn't the mainstay. We weren't always drawn to him. And I thought he did a great job as being a character actor. If anything, I think I was a little bit hard because I think Harrison Ford probably should have brought my score down a little bit. So would you guys allow me to change it at last minute? It's just going to change it a no.
No.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go with a 4 then. No. Fuck you, Sean.
No.
4 it is.
It's a 4.
It is. I was talking myself into
because no. Let me tell you why. Okay. Mm-hmm. Because you're a very decisive person. You know what the score should be. Any scores change that you would give is based on scores that we have given.
No, it actually is because of Harrison Ford.
I feel like you're. It
was Harrison Ford.
I do, but I feel like you thought our scores. If we had all scored a 4, you wouldn't even be.
No, actually, I think I would have because I liked Harrison Ford.
Your stomach building up, Brandon.
All right. if it's just based on Harrison Ford, then maybe wait. Do you want to vote?
Yeah, it's literally based on Harrison Ford. I realized that I loved seeing Harrison Ford as a happy old man. It was nice to see, and I.
All right, listen. This time around, but he's gonna be something fun.
Raise your hand if you say yes.
Go for it, dude. But you're gonna be like
3.99.
2 against 1. Sorry, buddy. You can't change it.
It's 3.7. 3.7. I'm knocking off 0.3. 3.7.
That's up to the person in the movie. I'll let the person who did the movie.
Jeremiah.
All right.
It's fine.
Is that 3.7? Yes or no?
3.7.
Yes, that's exactly what I voted. That's what I voted. Oh my God.
Okay, can I go now?
Eddie.
Yes, thank
please.
you.
Go for it, bro.
God, so I'm not going to be indecisive with my decision, like middle-aged Harrison, just because he gets a little woody with him. I'm going to keep my score.
That's Tom Hanks.
How I felt it. So this movie, it was the very first time watching it. I like Blake Lively, and I think she grows on you after a couple other movies. So I do ask Brandon, watch a couple other movies with her in it, and just see, and then rewatch this movie.
But she was good in The Town, dude.
She was good in that one.
She was good in that movie for sure. I see why she's good in all these movies now. So this is actually one of the movies that she had probably led. And I personally thought, like, outside of Gossip Girl, like, I wanted to see this side of Blake Lively. And I was happy with what I saw. I don't think it's her fault. I think it's just a story lacking certain parts that I think, like, you and I, all of us are breaking apart with. Like, we wanted to see more of Adeline's character development. This is the perfect time to have a character development, and they made it seem like she had the boringest 115-year life in all of humanity of a library. They missed the mark with showing flashbacks of her life, and it made it seem she carried it and Harrison carried it, and that was it for me. I felt like, but overall, I do think that this is a good movie to watch. It's just a movie. Yeah, it's a movie. It's nothing that goes in. It's a cool story to possibly think about that this could happen. You could get a second chance, and even though for this person it might be 80 years apart, and she lost hope, and that's why maybe she was so. Yeah. It took so long for her to give another chance. So I do think that this shows a lot of different aspects of, like, don't lose hope. You could find love any moment. It could strike you when you're least expecting it, right? So I'm okay with my score. I'm going to give us a 2.89. Because I do like the meaning of, you don't know when love's going to hit you. It's going to hit you. It's going to smack you in your face when you're least expecting it. And I think that's for all of us. Love has hit us at different times when we're not expecting it. I'll give this a 2.89.
Eddie, I appreciate the fact that you're using point digit now. I mean, you're embracing 2 digits after that period. Thank you.
I'm spreading the love out with. I'm making sure there's no possible way for another score.
We want unique. That's all we want. Unique New York.
Yes, unique as this movie's unique, and I'm giving it a unique score, 2.89.
Sean, buddy, do you want to go, or you want me to go, buddy?
I'll go. I'll be short.
So Eddie says too.
I think that no. I'm just going to be short. That's all, because I've talked I feel like I've talked to most for this podcast. And that's nice. I don't mean to do that.
That never happens, so it's good.
This movie had such potential, and I think that it just missed the mark on delivering something that was an epic film. Mm-hmm. And it was 20 to 30 minutes too long to be as simple as it was. I think that if you added 20 minutes of complexity, it might be something like cinema. But I think Eddie hit the nail on the head. It's a love story at the end of the day, and I've seen better love stories. Harry Met Sally is a better love story, and at the end of the day, it's a little bit science fiction. I've seen better science fiction movies, so it's hard for me to. It doesn't excel in any one place over another. It's not. It is a good movie. It is an enjoyable movie. You can sit down and watch this movie, and you probably will be able to go all the way through without any complaints. But for me, if we're looking at it critically, it just misses the mark enough to where I put it above average. It's not an average film. It's a worse than average film. And so for me, I'm going to give it 3.25. And yeah, just above average, below average movie, above on our chart. And
3.25.
yeah, I don't think there's any one
So you
person
Uber
that made it bad
with a little bit of overflow.
with a little bit of a shot. I can't point to one person that made it poor. It just overall missed the mark. That's where I'm at. Jeremiah.
I agree with everything that you guys are saying about this film because I'm a little conflicted with the film myself, because I really enjoy this movie so much, because I've seen like half a dozen times, right? But for me, at the same time, I feel like this movie has so much potential, just so much potential to be greatness and just have that one kind of a story, that movie that just has that unique style, I think it's beautifully shot. I think it looks fantastic. The music is really amazing, I thought. The chemistry between Harrison Ford and Blake Lively is what does this movie for me, and it's the movie that I wanted to see more. I didn't buy into the Elias and Adaline, that story. I just didn't really care for it. That other story meant a lot to me because I think there was more to it, and that's the movie that I wanted to see more of it. But I guarantee if I see it again, I'll probably buy the story about her, Blake Lively, and Elias. Their characters and everything like that, Michelle and Blake Lively. But I totally recommend people to watch it because I think this is a movie that you should watch for Blake Lively. I think she gets the bad rep for whatever reason, just
because of the Green Lantern. That's why.
That too, but I think she has a lot of good stuff on her resume. Simple Favor she's fantastic here, and I think she actually was able to held her own and really held her own against one of the greatest actors of all time, which is Harrison Ford. So just if you get a chance, watch this film. You may like it. For me, I just wish it was something else, but there's something about it where I just can't get enough of it, man. So it's a 1.95. It's below a happy buzz for me. I there's something about this movie. Yeah, 1.95. It's a movie that it's like a moth to light. It's like I'm just drawn to it for whatever reason, So
everyone has something like that. Everyone has their guilty pleasure. I mean, it is what it is.
American Pie.
Like there's a movie I want to do later on in Halloween movies. It's called It Follows. It has one of the worst endings of all time, and it just I'm like, God damn, it was so close to being greatness. This is that movie for me for here. It's like it's that close.
All right, when we combine those scores and divide by 4, what does Age of Adaline get an average rating of?
It gives us a unique score for Age of Adaline. This is a 2.9475. 2.9475.
Jeremiah, where does that put us on the list of movies that we reviewed?
It is now our 67th place.
And what is a couple movies that are better than Age of Adaline?
Troy, one of our recent new movies that we have. Vanilla Sky, Dracula, the 1931, Clueless, Beetlejuice, Pitch Perfect.
And what's worse than Age of Adaline?
300, V for Vendetta, To All the Boys I Loved Before.
Absolutely.
The Ring.
Nope.
This is 40.
Nope.
I think I
take it back. It's a 4. It's a 4, not a 3.7. Harrison, you didn't do it.
It's a good spot. This is a movie I'd say it's a date movie. I really think this is a cool date movie to watch. I feel like this is one of those ones you watch with like have a date, bro. Like this is a secret date movie.
Sean, I haven't heard you say it in a while.
Your objection is noticed and rejected on the record. You cannot change your score again.
No, Sean, I want to hear you say it though. What do you think of this placement?
I think it's where it needs to be.
Oh, there it is. Gosh darn it! Yes,
I think
we haven't heard that for like 2 seasons.
For me, it just needs to be down down away from the good films. That's all I'm worried about.
Yeah, 2.9. It's
down away from the classics.
Sean, you gave it right below you gave it right above a 3. Right, Uber and a Lyft. No, so technically it's right. After we all grade it, it's right below that. Right, so that's it's close to your score.
It's where it should be. I mean, it really is where it should be because all I can think about is this: it belongs in the pantheon of 1,000 films that have been made that don't make waves, that are just kind of right in the middle, where they're enjoyable, but they're not quite hits. They're not quite this magic in a bottle, and the magic in the bottle films are reserved for the top. I honestly. The reason they're always where there should be is because everyone has their different opinion, and we're putting them on a list that they should be on. Yeah.
I mean, but if you want to be on the top on our podcast, you got to be a Spielberg, Nolan. Lucas. I mean, that's
the
those
quality
are the
of
things
film.
there. They're just like the top five. Yeah.
Well, speaking of quality,
It is what it is. Yeah.
Speaking of quality of film, guys, that brings us to the end of our podcast episode. And it's time for one of our gentlemen to tell us which movie we're going to be watching and reviewing next week. This week was our friend Jeremiah's. Now it is our boss's host, also known as Sean. Sean, you have the next selection. What are we watching and why?
What the fuck did I miss? Did we vote?
All right.
He's, I mean, as host, he kind of is.
Well, he's my boss, so
I'm not going to lie. I dug a little deep here. I dug a little deep into the Age of Adaline cast.
So you're going with the town.
I scraped out an actor who actually I really enjoy. I remember him on Smallville, but he plays a very small role in both of the movies that Age of Adaline and the movie I selected.
We didn't have screen time.
His name is Hiro Kanagawa.
Oh, Kanagawa. He's literally my favorite character actor.
Hiro Kanagawa.
Nice.
And he was actually the principal in Smallville for seasons like 1 and 2 until he died in a fiery car crash in the football coach. Anyway.
Was he in Lost? Was he in Lost?
I believe he was in Lost.
What?
He was the Dharma Initiative, wasn't he?
Was he in Lost?
Yes, he was. He was in the Dharma Project. He was the guy on video.
Yes.
And he was also in. Oh, he was the guy on video. That's right.
Yeah.
So what are we watching of Hero?
The Dharma Project. Dharma or Dharma? Dharma. Anyway, so I know this is kind of out of left field, but this franchise has really exploded over the last 4 years, and they've made now I think 6 films and 1 television show. And I just finished a television show, and it's really.
Be nice.
This character has been around since the 1930s, so my grandfather would be very proud that I chose this movie. So we're doing 2014's Gareth Edwards' Godzilla.
With Matthew Broderick?
No.
Oh, damn.
That would be 1999's Godzilla.
That would be 1998. Which has one of the best soundtracks.
Taco Bell had
CDs.
had a giveaway with that 98. Okay, well, Godzilla.
I'm not shocked because you've always been appreciative of the monster movies, especially the old school monster movies like King Kong and everything. And that's what you're probably referring to your grandfather.
Yeah.
Because, King Kong, Godzilla, and everything. I think that's not a surprising pick, actually.
Yeah,
which I'm really excited about.
There's a lot of movies recently with Godzilla, King Kong, and that's kind of cool.
Right. I'll justify it by saying that this franchise is one of the highest grossing franchises right now. So
it's kicking ass.
We just had Godzilla X Kong,
my kids have watched it.
Shitload of money.
It's actually a really good franchise. And I will say that they did a television show on Apple Plus with Wyatt Russell and Kurt Russell. And Wyatt Russell was a young version of Kurt Russell's character as an older man, and it was throughout the years of the Monarch, which is the organization following these creatures. So
it's the same story that it ties into the movies.
It actually takes place right after Godzilla, all the way through the new one.
Sweet. Okay.
I have not.
So it's
seen
really
this.
cool.
I'm looking forward to it. You guys have shown me the different monster movies that I haven't seen before, with Predator and Alien and now Godzilla. I saw the 98 Matthew Broderick shit show. So I'm excited to see if this can better that one. And I get next pick.
And
I get next
just for clarity's sake. Just for clarity's sake, I will say this: I'm not expecting this to be zeros. It's Godzilla, for fuck's sake. I understand where we're at.
I appreciate you. I appreciate
this
you.
This is a fun pick. This is a self-indulgent pick.
And dude, we just got over the summertime sadness movie, so I'm kind of glad to go.
We do. We need some summer. We need some summertime joy.
All right. If you enjoyed our podcast or a fan of our reviews, you please subscribe wherever you're listening and give us a 5-star review on iTunes or SoundCloud or wherever you're listening. You can find us on Instagram at the Gentleman Podcast. If you want to reach out, you can do so at hosts@thegentlemanpodcast.com. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Enjoy those old fashions made the correct way.
Shout out to some new listeners out in New Jersey, Cherry Hill, also Magnolia in New Jersey, and a town called Littleton, Colorado. So thank you for listening.
Yeah, we've seen kind of a crazy explosion here, which we're super excited and proud of.
And thankful for.
Thank you all guys for listening, and
from Jersey,
wherever you are.
Colorado.
Yeah, keep listening, and we appreciate you.
Keep on keeping.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Cheers, gentlemen.
Peace out. Cheers.
Clink, clink.